Good morning, everybody, and welcome to the LFC Transfer Room. It is another episode of Matchday mornings, Matchday countdowns, if you will. And it's gonna be a bit of a long countdown, isn't it? We won't be there for all of it. There are still a good 8 or 9 hours left until the game actually gets underway. But hey, we're here for the final bit of build up and reaction before we can get really excited, get into the watch along with James, who is here, thankfully, making sure that I am on time. Just a couple of minutes late, but hey, I'm an hour in front of you guys. I'm currently in Spain on holiday, so um, just bear with me. Luckily, it looks like the Wi-Fi in the place that I'm staying at is actually working fine, which is unbelievable, isn't it? So we can get straight into this. Make sure that if you are just joining us, thank you very much. First of all, please do get involved in the live chat. It's great to have some company on a Monday morning, which is not normally a time that we would go live. Please do like the video as well. That really helps us out. And please do subscribe to the channel as well. It is, of course, build up to our first home game of the season, Liverpool versus Crystal Palace. We need to get 3 points. We need to get our wins up and running, don't we? After a slightly disappointing yet entertaining start to the season last week at Craven Cottage, which I mistakenly thought we were playing at home for ages until the day of the actual bloody game. But I'm right this time. We're back at Anfield at last. Finally, we can get our home form back underway. Tom Smith, good to see you. Says, "Hey, can't wait till tonight." Yeah, it's felt like an age, hasn't it? And it doesn't stop there because once this game is done, we don't play again until next Monday, and that is for Manchester United. So we need to take advantage and make the most of today's game and really enjoy it, don't we? And hopefully, the team can help us do that by getting a decent result. So what we're going to do today is just going to have a brief look. Well, we're going to get excited first of all. That's the number one aim of today, is to get ourselves pumped up. But we're also going to take a look at what's been said in some of the press conferences, what's come out in some of the program notes, etc., and just talk about it and what we can expect to see from the team, etc. I think first of all, what I'd like to do, just following on from the match preview last night. If you haven't watched that, please do go and check that out after this stream. I'd just like to give my personal takes on the team selection, especially. James, it's horrible that everyone has already played. Feels like a slow start to the season. It does, doesn't it? I don't remember it ever being like this before. We played on the Saturday, and then we don't have a game for another 9 days. That's just unheard of, isn't it? I mean, I'm sure Jurgen Klopp's bloody loving it. I'm sure he wishes it could be a bit more like this throughout the season, especially December, January time. But yeah, there's all this build up for the start of the season, and then it's been a very stuttering start, and that's not going away just yet either, because the Carabao Cup isn't on for another couple of weeks. Champions League not till September, so our Premier League games are quite broken up at the moment. So yeah, let's just hope we can get into the swing of things a bit quicker. And hopefully this has given the squad some time to reflect on themselves a little bit, because I do think against Fulham that there was a lot of attitude missing. It was the wrong attitude. I think that Jurgen Klopp was even quoted as saying that it wasn't, for one of the first times in his career, this was one of the only times where he's had to tell his team that they probably did have the wrong attitude. Just bear with me a moment. So I think that that's something that he would have got across to them. I think a lot of them are aware of it. I think James Milner's come out and said that they're looking to make amends this week, and that's going to be no easy task. I mean, to be fair, I think even we underestimated Fulham. It was sod's law that Mitrovic ended up scoring 2 goals when I think we pretty much all had roasted him at that point for not being able to adapt to the Premier League, and then he goes and scores against the second best team in the bloody thing. So I don't think we'll be making the same mistake on the LFC transfer room, and I don't think the players will be making the same mistake against Crystal Palace. But having said that, there's only so much that you can do to say, oh, we're going to put things right. At the end of the day, it's going to be a very, very tough game against a Patrick Vieira side who did do very well last year. They haven't. What was their? This is. I am on holiday, so excuse the lack of research here. But let me just check. the league table. Crystal Palace. Yeah, Crystal Palace got off to a bad start. I thought they got off to a bad start last season. This season with a defeat at home. So they are another team who'll be looking to get off the mark. This is a dangerous time to play anybody, especially those who've not had the greatest of starts, because it's all about getting those first points on the board, isn't it? Like we saw that with West Ham. They played Man City on the first day of the season. You know, I've never seen such a. Maybe it was all because of Man City and how good they were, but I've really never seen such a just a lackluster, uninterested opponent as West Ham in that game. I don't know. Do I think there's something going on with that Man City club? Maybe, but do I have any proof of it? No, beyond what I'm seeing on the pitch against some of their opposition. But hey, West Ham gave them a good game at the end of last year, so I don't know. Yeah, it's too early in the morning to go into conspiracy talks, isn't it? But then they were looking to bounce back. They have a promotion team in front of them in Nottingham Forest, and Nottingham Forest end up getting the win because they had to prove themselves and get off the mark as well. So suddenly, a decent West Ham side who will be looking to maintain their status as a European side, whether that's Conference, Europa, whatever. After 2 games, they're on 0 points. So obviously, we're very different to West Ham, especially in where we want to be and the players on offer. But there are warning signs there. I think there's definite warning signs in terms of just how focused we have to be and how determined we have to be to get over the line today, no matter what. It's not about pummeling Crystal Palace. It's about being up for a fight, which they're going to want to provide us. Patrick Vieira's had another pre-season with his team, few more signings here and there, and they'll be looking to make that sort of big statement early on in the year. So look, I have no doubt that we'll see a much improved performance. But does that guarantee us a result? No, it doesn't, and that's the most important thing at the end of the day. West Ham were awful this weekend, said Tom Smith. Well, to be fair, I haven't seen the game, but I've seen differing reports on that. I saw some people saying, Nottingham Forest were absolutely brilliant, but I've seen others saying that West Ham played really well. We were just desperately unlucky not to get back into the game. I think Dean Henderson had a really good game as well. So I'll take your word for it, but I've heard different things. Let's just put it that way. James Dean says, I don't like Palace. They haunt me ever since the 3-3. One of the worst days. I mean, the league was gone. The league was gone already by that point, but it was just a collapse, wasn't it? And then bloody having to watch Luis Suarez cry and Dwight Gale get all the plaudits and then never hear from him ever again in the Premier League. That was a bad day. What do you think about Haaland's 8 touches? Again, it's tricky to watch football out in Spain. I'm not going to lie to you. So I'm going to be a little bit behind on all that kind of stuff. But they won 4-0 without him. So that's the thing. I think we are just perpetually stuck in hope that one of their players letting them down or going is going to have a massive effect on them. Like up until now, I've always said, if Bernardo Silva goes, that's massive. But he started on the bench in their first game and they won comfortably. I don't know about yesterday, but they don't rely on one player. Maybe Kevin De Bruyne to an extent, but again, I still think he's a massive luxury player. I don't know. Maybe Kevin De Bruyne is the absolute key to it, because they didn't have him up and running at this point last year, and they lost their first game of the season. So I don't know. Haaland again he's not someone that they needed in terms of their evolution and reverting back to having an out-and-out striker. Absolutely, but they know they can play without one because they did it last year. So him having a bad game really doesn't affect Man City as a whole at all. So again, it's not something I can get excited about when you see that and you think, oh, brilliant, he's going to be a flop. But even if he is, which I don't think he will be, Does it matter? Does it matter in a Man City team? I don't know. Nico Williams played well, says Thomas Smith. Oh, of course, bloody hell, yeah. Nico Williams is there. Yeah, well, yeah. Congratulations to him as a former Liverpool player, of course. Let's continue talking about Liverpool Crystal Palace though. In terms of the team, my take on it, because I know that's what you're all here for, is my opinion on everything. The back four pretty much picks itself, doesn't it? Joe Gomez will have to partner Virgil van Dijk. It won't be Nat Phillips, and it won't be Vandenberg, as much as I'd love it to be one of them or both of them. Tsimikas, he may well be back in time for the game, but he'll be on the bench at most. And Trent will obviously keep his spot. The midfield is interesting, and I think there are so many ways this could go. He could just turn around and put Henderson back in there again, despite him probably being one of the worst players on the pitch last week, amidst a lot of very bad performances. I'll give him that, but he just loves him, doesn't he? And maybe we do all underestimate the value of that leadership being on the field as well as in the back, in the background as well. Maybe his poor passes, maybe his lack of athleticism now that he's getting a bit older, maybe that still is outweighed by his ability to lead the team on the pitch. I don't know. I don't know what Jurgen Klopp sees, but he could easily start, and I think that would upset a lot of people, and especially if the result doesn't go our way, that will have really annoyed some people. Naby Keita is another person. We had a debate during the week about Naby Keita. I would like to see him play. Whether that's in the right side today or the left side today, I'm not sure. But Thiago is injured, so maybe on that left side. So Fabinho, Keita, and then I think a lot of people have said Elliott. Some people have said Milner. It would be interesting, but it could just so easily be. It could just so easily just be Jordan Henderson, couldn't it? So we'll definitely have to wait and see on that one. Up front, though, I think he's got to give Nunes his first start, hasn't he? First game at home, first proper competitive game at Anfield, in a Liverpool shirt at least for Darwin Nunes. And for 2 games in a row, Firmino not really shown much, in my opinion, at least. And I think a lot of people are expecting him to be taken out of the team and Nunes to come in. The thing is, I think it's hard to argue that if Nunes had started against Fulham, we wouldn't have won that game, or if he'd have come on earlier, we wouldn't have won that game. Our XG went from something like 0.5 before he came on. Don't take me verbatim on this, but it went from somewhere less than 1 XG to over 2.5 once he'd come on and the game was over. So he is just an output machine. Whether he actually scores or not is obviously a different matter. I mean, he did score, and he's already got 2 competitive goals for Liverpool, and technically an assist for the penalty. He is an output monster, and that's ultimately what we've kind of been lacking. Whether that's in the midfield or whether that's through the centre of our attack. Obviously, Salah and Mane last year were output monsters, and hopefully Luis Diaz can add that to his locker. But apart from those 2 last year, and obviously, the wing backs providing assists, getting those shots off successfully, creating those really dangerous chances, who else was doing that? And now we've got Darwin Nunes, who can be a massive focal point. And one thing that I feel like disturbed Salah's game last year was he got off to such a massively successful start. Obviously, AFCON was a big deal. Obviously, the World Cup qualifier was a big deal. And the contract situation, no doubt, had an effect on his mentality. But I think he was marked out of games quite often because Firmino wasn't as effective, and people just knew that he was our biggest threat, and there wasn't as much. Obviously, Sadio Mane played pretty well up front, but that's never been his natural position. Good morning, Jen. Hope you're doing well. That was never his natural position. I think a lot of teams did just man up on Mo Salah and make it more difficult. Adding Darwin Nunes, who is already blowing the stats away in terms of output and shots and chances created and passes, that instantly refocuses the attention of opposition defenders and opposition midfielders. So it instantly gives the likes of Luis Diaz, Salah, Jota, and Darwin Núñez more space because teams have got more to think about again. We've got an entire front three of players that can create and score goals. So that'll be interesting to see again how Crystal Palace decide to deal with that as our opposition tonight. No, this is not my kitchen. I'm on holiday in Spain, so this is our little España kitchen for the next 12 days. So you might see a little bit more of it. I won't be on, I won't be streaming too much whilst I'm on holiday, but you'll see a little bit of it here and there. But yes, this is, of course, the morning countdown. So please do like the video if you haven't done so already. It massively helps us out. Please do subscribe to the channel as well. And please share it about as well. If you know any Liverpool fans who might be interested in the channel or just need a bit of team news, a bit of team opinion in their life, please do share it about and get them to let us know what they think. And of course, please continue getting involved in the live chat as well for this stream. We'll be live from 7:30 p.m. tonight with James, who may or may not still be in the chat. He will be doing the watch along for Liverpool versus Crystal Palace. So 7:30 p.m. ahead of the 8 p.m. kickoff. So we'll have all the team news and stuff for you then. No, we'll never have to put up with you. You're the main attraction. Good morning, Oluwu. Hope you are doing well. I might have gone live a bit too early for some people. Everyone's just getting out of bed, bless them. But we are an hour forward in Spain. So if I'd have started any longer, we'd be going into the afternoon here. So it wouldn't quite feel like a morning match day video necessarily. Let's just go into a little bit of some stuff that Klopp has said in the notes and in his press conferences, etc. In the official match day program for tonight, which goes on the website, he said that there are some new faces, of course, and they will all be seen. If not tonight, then certainly as the season goes on. The big positive is they are already settling into their new surroundings, whether that be at the club, the city, or the dressing room. Liverpool is a welcoming city, so it makes sense that we are a welcoming club. I know without even asking that our supporters will give their own special welcome, whether the players have been here for a month or a decade. This kind of togetherness is as important now as it was when I first arrived and last season when we joined forces to campaign on all four fronts until the very last day. This is just the second game. There is so much football to be played, and so many things will happen between now and the end of the season that it makes no sense to make any predictions. But what I can promise is that we will carry on working as hard as ever to be as good as we possibly can. Even this does not guarantee success, but it does give us a chance of being very successful. It hasn't worked too badly up till now either, so let's carry on. So it's no different to anything he would normally say, to be fair. But just looking at it and reading it straight away, yeah, it's not my kitchen again. Sorry, just to clarify, everybody. I've got a decent kitchen back home, but this one is a fair bit bigger, to be fair. And yes, we do have the aircon. I've had to turn it off just so that it doesn't get in the way of the audio on this video. But yes, it's all looking good. Sorry, so just going back to what Jurgen Klopp said there, I don't feel like it's any different to anything he would say throughout any point of a season. But just reading it, considering what's going on, some of the injuries that we've sustained, the mounting pressure from fans that we have to sign a midfielder this year, and that it almost feels like an even heightened sense of we have to win the Premier League or the Champions League this year, otherwise it is absolutely a failure no matter what. It is interesting for him to say things such as, even if this does not guarantee success, it does give us another chance of being successful. It hasn't worked too badly up till now either. That almost feels like a bit of a jab back at those people. So I think that's quite interesting. Now it's James doing the watch along. I'll try and watch it, but you can't watch Sky. You can't use the Sky app or any UK apps over in the EU because we bloody left. So unless I find it in a pub, but I think we're more focused on family tonight. We'll be a bit like Vin Diesel, focused on family rather than the football. But I'll keep a close eye on it on my phone if I can, possibly. And I'll let you update me on what happens exactly. I think Klopp is saving money for Bellingham next summer by saying we don't need a midfielder this summer. Yes, so again, let's focus on exactly what's being said here. It feels like a bit of a jab. I'll repeat myself there. It feels like a bit of a jab at that crowd of people who are really, really putting it on thick that we have to get a midfielder. And it almost feels like some of these people are genuinely getting mixed feelings now towards Klopp, which is, for once of a better word, I think is pretty mental. I think I'm always quite a middle of the road kind of guy, especially when it comes to footballing opinions. Like, I never understand people who are like do or die one way or the other. Just think nothing in this world is as black and white as that, especially around football, which is such a subjective sport to try and have an opinion on. I think, yeah, we probably do need a midfielder. It would be great to get a midfielder, and we probably do need one because of these injuries, etc. But does my opinion change anything on this? Not really. Does me bashing about it on Twitter change anything? No. Does it create a bit of a toxic environment that's not very nice, despite where the club is compared to where it was 10 years ago? Yes. I just don't. I don't really see the point in being so up in arms about a transfer, because you do come off like a bit of a kid. You do come off like someone who is, coming from the world of FIFA and Football Manager. Like, I don't believe he's lying when he says if there was somebody available, and that is the key word, available, who fits what we want, we would go and get him. So you can all, I'm not talking to you directly. You, the other people, can sit there and say, "Oh well, Barella's there. Oh, Sangar's there, although Sangar's not anymore. But yeah, Barella's there. Bellingham, you could offer the right amount of money, and all these other players. My mind's gone blank. But I know Barella was quite a big one. Well, ultimately, what the hell do you know? What none of you know the deep like what actually happens when a team sits down to discuss a transfer. Like, none of you've got any concept of what that conversation goes like. It ain't. And I hate to talk down to people because I know this is really overdone by people of the older generation, but it's not how it. Sorry, I feel this is so cringe saying it like this, but it is not what happens on FIFA, is it? You don't sit down in a 5-minute conversation and go, £50 million, and they go, no. All right, £60 million. No. All right, 70 million. Yeah, okay, brilliant. Sign the contract. I'm sure people understand that, but I feel like it just needs people need to take a step back and think, I've actually got no idea what constitutes an available player, how contract negotiations work, how conversations between clubs actually happen. Maybe we did inquire about Barella. I don't know. You can't say that we didn't. And Inter Milan may have well said, no, this season, not happening, not a chance. It would take upwards of £100 million to get him this year. Inter Milan are one of the richest clubs in the world now. They've got one of the richest owners who's injected the most amount of money in the last decade than any other owner in European football. So they're in no need to sell one of their best players. They're not little old Inter of about 5, 6, 7 years ago who were in the depths of, mid-table mediocrity and who had fallen off massively. They are up and coming. They don't need to be selling their best players. But everyone just seems to think it's so easy behind the whole, oh, we are Liverpool. Any player would want to come and play. Maybe he does. Maybe Barella would love to come and play for us. Maybe he has said that. But Inter Milan are under no obligation to sell him just because our name is Liverpool. I don't know. Charlie, good to see you. Hope you're doing well. Says, not asked about Barella, honestly. If we get Jude next summer and a highly rated youth prospect, I'll be fine with not getting anyone this summer. Well, Yeah, I mean that's the other side of it, isn't it? I think if we get one this summer, if Nunes comes out of nowhere and we get him, bloody brilliant. Add him to the team. We'll support him. Fantastic. Maybe he will genuinely contribute massively and get us over the line in several competitions. Who knows? But exactly. If Bellingham is on the horizon next year, brilliant. If we don't get Bellingham next year, that's a whole different conversation that we can have. And I would genuinely be quite angry because so much of the noise coming from the club directly has been about Bellingham and about, oh no, it's about the right time. They've said it's off the table this year, so we'll go in next year, which has always felt risky because we know that there's other clubs in Europe who could definitely afford him. Is he a Liverpool fan? No, maybe he does like the way we do things, and I think we do cling on to the fact that he said it's not about the money. So we instantly think, oh, that means he wants to come to us because we're not renowned for spending the most money on players. But who knows? That's a conversation for next year, isn't it? So a bit of a rant when we're supposed to be building up to the game, but it's something that's been pretty much the only narrative around Liverpool this summer has been about a midfielder, and there's still a couple of weeks left to go in the transfer window, and that conversation is still not dying down. James says I'm going with Fab, Hendo, and Elliott for my midfield prediction. So leaving Jordan Henderson in. Interesting. Gary Richards has gone for Elliott, Fabi, and Keita. I'd probably be more inclined to go for that. I don't know. Interesting. I guess, yeah, Keita, cold feet, Elliott, cold feet against a tough Crystal Palace side. Maybe you do need to keep Henderson in purely because he played in that first game. I don't know. Milner, Ox, and Keita leaving will free up space to get at least two midfielders. Yeah, but that's not going to happen. That's definitely not happening this year, is it? So, but if that happens, I know we're only technically losing one midfielder, but suddenly our depth goes from, well, we've got lots, maybe not all the best that we need, to suddenly, you know, we definitely are one or two injuries away from actually lacking midfielders. So, Klopp won't drop in with a 9-day break and wants leadership. Yep, fair enough. I concede at that point there. And yeah, I absolutely would not be surprised if um, if that was what happened. Christian King, good to see you. Sorry, I didn't miss that. What made everyone more happy? Gerrard versus Lampard, or Lampard losing, or the Manx? So far, it's been a pretty decent weekend of football, hasn't it? Especially that whole Tuchel Conte thing. I only saw the replay, but it was bloody brilliant. Peaceful Panda says, I think Carvalho should start. Well, I don't know whether you can't tell the way he's saying this, but he does say there are some new faces, of course, and they will all be seen, if not tonight, then certainly as the season goes on. So I don't know if maybe that's a nod that we'll see a bit more of Carvalho. Probably won't start again because who do you drop for him? I don't think anybody in the front line did necessarily anything wrong, apart from I think Nunes needs to start. What did you think of the Chelsea game? Yeah, again, not able to watch games currently. There are Irish pubs about, as James has pointed out, but it is a family holiday. So if I was out for every single game, I wouldn't really be living up to the bill of why we're here necessarily. Elliot has a great understanding with Salah. Yes, yep, I think that's a fair point, and that would be a great reason to get him back into the team. Actually, I'd be fascinated. I'd be fascinated and surprised if Jordan Henderson is not in the starting 11. And if Jordan Henderson starts, Harvey Elliott definitely doesn't. And Carvalho's on the bench as well. Please do make sure that you like the video and please do subscribe to the channel as well. It really does help us out if you could like this video. And if you haven't done so already, subscribe to the channel. We'll be live again from 7:30 p.m. tonight for Liverpool versus Crystal Palace, our live watch along with our good friend James Dean, who is in the live chat currently. Please continue getting involved, get your questions and thoughts in. Another thing that was discussed in the press conference yesterday was Luis Diaz. Jurgen Klopp believes it's only a matter of time before Luis Diaz finds a consistent run of goal-scoring form from Liverpool. He's gone on to, obviously expand on that a little bit, but I think that's evident. I don't think there should be any alarm or concern about Luis Diaz at this point. he has come so close in those two games so far, Man City and Fulham, to scoring, and continuously just looks so dangerous every time he gets the ball. I don't remember genuinely seeing someone who, whenever they get on the ball for Liverpool, looks like they could beat a man and instantly just create something for us almost every single time he gets it. We've had some fantastic footballers, but I just don't remember many having that trait for a good few years. I'm not saying we've never had one. There have been some in our recent history, but not for the last few years. I don't think. I think you know Mo Salah, whilst he's absolutely an incredibly technically gifted player, which he's never ever appreciated for, and I do find that very bizarre when people say he's not a technical player. I do not understand that whatsoever, and I have to question your motives and your internal biases if that's what you're saying about Salah. Um, but I think Luis Diaz has a completely different dimension to the way that he takes on players quite consistently, and more often than not is successful in it. He's just got such a zip about him over those 5 yard periods. And Sadio Mane, whilst in his first few years here, was able to beat a man and used his pace to his advantage. Again, it was very different, and it doesn't feel like Luis Diaz needs to just knock the ball past his man and run. It feels like he can genuinely beat him with skill, which is genuinely quite a rare trait. I think that's quite underestimated. It's so hard to do something like that at an elite level and to do it consistently. It's quite incredible. Carvalho will be eased in. He won't start. Yep, agree with that. And would like to see Elliot and Carvalho play together more often. I think they both play really well and create lots of chances on the pitch. Well, the Carabao Cup could well be their competition, provided they're given a solid base to work from and they're not, surrounded by kids, because I don't think that benefits either party. If they've got Fab behind them, or even Henderson, and one of our starting centre backs, that they could very well make a name for themselves in the Carabao Cup or the FA Cup. But yeah, I agree. Carvalho especially will be eased in this year. He'll be a part of the team. He'll make plenty of substitute appearances, I'm sure, but he won't be starting just yet in the Premier League. But going back to that mention of Luis Diaz again, I think we all know he's going to be just fine. Last season was a hell of a debut, and we all said perhaps he needs to start scoring a bit more. He started this year like a man who probably should have 2 or 3 goals already to his name, if we're being honest. He's just been desperately unlucky. He's hit the bar a couple of times, just wide, not had teammates in support once or twice. So once we get into a rhythm, as Klopp says, he'll be fine. I don't think there's anything to actually worry about for that one. So predictions for tonight. With about, what is it, 8.5 hours to go, 9.5 hours to go in the UK, isn't it? Bloody hell. I hate it because I was so confident about Fulham, and then we flopped it. We have to respond. Crystal Palace will still be a decent game. I want to go for a 2-0. I want to back at Alisson to get his clean sheets up and running, and for the defense to be massively improved. Van Dijk wasn't himself last week. Sorry. So I'm going to go for a 2-0 win. So I think we could get a goal in the first half, and then it could be quite tight and squeaky bum time. And then maybe in the last 10 minutes, we'll get that second goal over the line, Darwin Núñez or someone, to secure the 3 points and a collective sigh of relief around Anfield. How many goals do you think Mo and Starwin will score this season? I think the interesting question is, will Mo Salah's goals drop as a result of Darwin Núñez getting those opportunities more? That's maybe the more interesting question, because I think that's quite hard to say at this point, isn't it? Jen's gone for a 6-0, bloody hell. A 2-2 with Fulham will not detract anyone's confidence, will it? Olu's gone for a 3-1. Gary Richards has gone for a 7-0. James Dean a 3-1, a bit more sensible. Bloody hell, come on, guys. if that doesn't happen, if we drop points again, we're bloody embarrassing ourselves, aren't we? But you've got to respect it. I think that just about wraps it up, doesn't it? So thank you very much for joining me on our match day morning countdown. Please do stick around the channel. Please check out our preview from yesterday, our opposition preview with a Crystal Palace journalist. Please do stick around for the watch along as well. The stream is all ready to go on YouTube, so you can go onto our channel, find that stream, and save that. Get it to notify you when we go live, so that you're there and you can watch the game with our dear friend James. I'm sure I'll be in the comments as well a little bit. Yeah, brilliant. So please do like this video. Please subscribe to the channel. Thank you very much. Up the Mighty Redman, says Kvinda. Hope you're doing well. Please do stick around. We'll see you in the next stream. I've been Louis. This has been the Match Day Countdown. Liverpool versus Crystal Palace. Fingers crossed we get truly up and running in our first home game of the season. Take care, and we'll see you this evening for the watch along. Take care.